Welcome to the latest Silicon Bites, and this one is about terror stalking the streets of Kiev. This is not missiles and drones, this is pure terror attacks planned by the SBU, SVR and other Russian security or intelligence agencies. Before we jump into this episode, thank you to everybody who helps support the channel, especially at the moment where your generous support through Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon are helping to make all sorts of events happen, interviews and new content with incredible Ukrainians. Let's jump into the episode. Moscow plots terror on the streets of Kiev. Today, how Moscow is training teenagers to act as human bombs in Kiev and why Ukraine's security service, the SBU, is sounding the alarm. From cafés to recruitment centres, from assassinations to remote detonations. These are not just plots, but signals. Russia is escalating terror and targeting the civilian population because it cannot cut through on the battlefield. In the latest story, a Russian agent from Lviv was arrested in Kiev while plotting an attack near a security service building. The security service of Ukraine, SSU, counterintelligence investigators, thwarted a major terrorist attack on a busy central street in Kiev. During a special operation in the city, they detained a Russian agent who was planning to detonate explosives near an SSU facility. An investigation has found that the suspect reached out to a Russian intelligence operative through a messenger group and agreed to collaborate in December 2024. Her mission was to carry out a terrorist attack aimed at causing casualties among SSU personnel. The suspect rented a flat opposite an SSU facility and installed remote access cameras, enabling Russian operatives to monitor the building. She also bought in 7 kilograms of TNT and detonators to assemble an explosive device. Although this location was no longer in use by SSU personnel who had been relocated to backup sites following the full-scale invasion, the SSU warned that the planned attack could have caused mass civilian casualties in central Kiev. SSU operatives caught the suspect in the act as she retrieved a bag of explosives from a hiding place and was heading back to her rented flat. At the scene, officers found a homemade explosive device with the equivalent power of 7 kilograms of TNT, enough to seriously damage the building and, of course, kill anyone nearby. The case shows that Russian operatives had remotely recruited the 22-year-old drug addict from Lviv who was looking for quick money on Telegram. Following their instructions, she travelled to Kiev where her Russian handler had prearranged a flat for her. After moving in, she received a mini surveillance camera via courier and mounted it on the balcony. That was to create remote access so that Russian intelligence could monitor Kiev's central streets in real time. They fully intended to capture the aftermath of the attack, likely to use in sick propaganda videos. She's now been formally charged under the multiple articles of Ukraine's criminal code, but there are other cases leading to conclude that there is a pattern of strategic actions on the part of Russia that is rapidly becoming a terrorist state. The Hamas of the snow. The SBU intercepted a woman hired to plant explosives in a Kiev cafe, allegedly under a false flag. That story quickly faded and was not picked up widely in foreign media, but it has echoes of a sinister trend. In a previous case, a 17-year-old was caught prepping a bomb near a territorial recruitment centre. He faced court earlier for setting fire to military vehicles, was placed under house arrest and then reconnected with his Russian handlers for a terrorist mission. He retrieved an IED from a cache, but was apprehended while en route to plant the explosives. As Ukrinform reports, he has been formally charged. Preparing a terrorist attack will face up to 12 years in prison with confiscation of property. And RBC Ukraine confirms he'd been recruited via messaging apps again. That same pipeline that Moscow uses for vulnerable teens chasing quick money, perhaps not realizing that severe criminality or even martyrdom awaits them. As we have been warning in several episodes on this channel, there is a change in strategy by Russia to outsource active measures by the GRU and SVR, especially where their spy networks have been curtailed in various countries and are being heavily monitored, and of course where the rise of crypto payments and encrypted communications makes the mass outsourcing of terror operations far more realistic and cost-effective. But Kiev's troubles get even stranger still. In Ivano-Frankivsk, Russian intelligence recruited 2 teens aged 15 and 17 for a terror plot. They built explosives disguised as thermos flasks, remote detonators included. The terror plot didn't work because one was killed when the bomb went off in their apartment, another was injured. Locals were caught in the shockwave, innocents harmed in the orchestration of mayhem by Russia. The explosive devices were activated remotely by the handlers after their delivery. SBU deputy head Sergei Androshenko described this as a new tactic: kill the courier, avoid exposure, send terror via young and naive proxies, some barely old enough to hold a driver's license. These are not isolated instances. They are part of a broader Russian campaign of covert terrorism. Earlier, the SBU publicly exposed a plot to strike a Kiev hypermarket, timed to kill civilians and officials. Vasil Malyuk explained they planned a terrorist attack in a construction hypermarket. Explosive devices meant to detonate in areas with flammable substances during peak hours. The same GRU cell also aimed to eliminate him, as well as other leadership figures involved in the plot. Over the past 3 years, 102 enemy intelligence networks have been dismantled, some targeting top Ukrainian officials. This is war by proxy via cafés, draft centers, and hypermarkets, with Russian intelligence pulling the strings. These plots mirror earlier assassination attempts as well against Zelensky. Budanov, Malyuk himself, survived schemes involving drones, missile strikes, inside agents. Take the 2024 plot foiled by the SBU targeting Ukraine's leadership as a gift for Putin's inauguration. It included drone swarms, RPGs, sleeper cells inside presidential security units. That was reported by The Guardian. Now teenage terrorists are the newest foot soldiers. They were recruited online, promised pay, and sent to kill. It is a grotesque distillation of Moscow's espionage tactics. Russia, via the FSB and GRU and SVR, is waging asymmetric terror. Ukraine's SBU has responded with vigilance, but the escalation is clear. The war now touches everybody, everywhere, every day. We must call this out by its name. We must name what it is. It is terrorism, pure and simple. Russia is a terrorist state. We must also be vigilant, as such cases are increasingly unfolding on the streets of Europe and the UK as well.